All right, STEM Sharks, we're going to work through in this video how to create a reference page. Sometimes you'll hear the term bibliography page here, or even a works cited list, but all three of those are names for the page that will list the sources that you've used here, right? So it'll be all listed here, the sources that you used in your research. So you do that first to establish your own credibility so that anyone reading your writing knows that you got the information from other credible sources, that you aren't just making it up, right? You also list the references here, your sources that you've used, so that if one of your readers wants to argue with your information, to be able to say, that fact is not correct or questions your credibility, they can go ahead and check where you got your information. But it's also, if the person reading it wants to learn more about that topic. We often see this in Wikipedia, right? Or the way that we use hyperlinks is, I want to learn more about this topic, so I click on that link, right? I click on the source or go to the source if it's on a reference page to be able to learn more about it. So in order to create a reference page, you want to go to Tools here at the top. And if I click on that part of the menu and scroll down to where it says Citations, then that will open up a window for me over on the right-hand side. I want to make sure that I have selected APA. That is the formatting style that researchers and writers in the sciences and social studies use. And that's the content that you're doing for your research projects. So we're going to use it too. So make sure that you have APA selected here. You're going to go ahead and add a citation source. So we're going to do these one by one. But what helps me is to, ahead of time, I'll set up in tabs all of the sources that I've used in my work. So I can just click through each one. And I usually will sit down and do this bibliography or reference page all together in one sitting, just try to get it done. You don't have to do it that way. It works for the video, and that's how I often do it. But you can just add them as you go, because adding a citation source will build a list for you here. I'll show you that in a second. We're going to go ahead and get started, though, on the first source. We scanned in the front pages of a textbook to be able to show you what it would look like if you need to cite an actual book. And most of the research we end up doing is online. But just in case you need to do a book, we want to show that to you. So here are the first two pages. You can see there's a lot of information in these first two pages from the textbook series that we have in the room. So I want to look for a couple of key pieces there, but I'm going to click first. The source type is a book. I am going to go ahead and source the entire book, and the print is how I accessed it. So I didn't look it up. It wasn't scanned in online like part of a bigger kind of organization. We're scanning it in, I know, but that's just because we want to show you in the video, okay? So most of the time you'll access it by print, right? Make photocopies or something like that in class. So now I'm going to look for an author of this book. And so I'm going to scroll through. I don't see that listed right away here. There's a lot of pieces of information. I do see we highlighted that there so that you could see the copyright and the publisher information. I don't need that quite yet, but on the second page, I see some authors. So these are the program authors, which means they're the authors and kind of the experts that were in charge of collecting this whole series together. This is part of Science Explorer. It's a whole curriculum collection of sources. So we have all of these student editions that you could read through. So they were the ones in charge of that, right? But this specific book author is actually who I want to copy down. So I'm going to make sure that I type her name in correctly. She does provide her middle initial, so I'm going to drop that in there too. Oop. You'll see that I'm trying to make sure I've got the capital letters correct. I've spelled her name correctly. And there are contributing writers here. I'm going to go ahead and just list the book author. So in middle school, we want to teach you the pieces of a reference, right? That will be listed here. Know that by the time you're in high school, it would be expected that you would take the time to list these contributing writers underneath here, right? So they are contributors to this text. The expectation for middle school is that you are finding at least an author. If there were two names listed here as the main book authors, not just contributing writers, but the main book authors, it would be expected that you would copy both of those names in as well, right? The next thing I'm looking for is actually the title of this whole book. And so I see that it is Science Explorer is the name of that whole series. And the specific book I'm looking at, this edition, is Electricity and Magnetism. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. And I'm going to use a colon right here, the 2 dots for that colon, because we're going to type in electricity and magnetism. So I've got electricity. I got to make sure I've spelled it correctly. And magnetism. Yep, appears we're good. The publisher then is going to be here. And I've got the date here also. So the publisher is Prentice-Hall Inc. So I will put that in. Again, I'm paying attention to punctuation, that comma, the period after Inc., that I've capitalized the Inc., the Hall, and Prentice, right? So I've got that set. And the publishing year, you'll see 2 years listed there, right? So I've got 2002 and 2000. I want to include the most recent one because that's the one that I'm looking at right now. Like that's the one you'd have in your hands, was the most recent one of 2002. The edition part of it, these are all of the Student Explorer editions. And we are looking at right here, right, that electricity and magnetism. But we've already typed that because it's part of the title of the whole book. So to add that information would be repetitive, and so you don't need it. I'd love for you guys to also be looking for volumes, but it's a little tricky to find sometimes in a big series like this. The volume is listed here, at least in this textbook, and it's just the letter N. You can also look for that information in the part that we have highlighted here. Sometimes it's listed there. You can also find it in the spine of the book. Like if you close the book, right, in that outside edge that sticks out on a bookshelf, sometimes you'll see the volume listed there. And so we're going to go ahead and put N. The short title and DOI, those are things that you'll need to know at the high school and college level. If you're curious about them, I will happily explain them to you, but we're going to do a middle school level of citation, right, so that you can learn the basics of how to do this. So we'll go ahead and put in add citation source. So my book is cited now, right? I've got that reference set. The next thing we're going to work on is this web page that we used to get some information from too, right? So I'm going to click to add a citation again over here. It is a website now, and I accessed it by the website. It's the only option they give you. There is no author listed here, right? So if I scroll, there wasn't one up at the top, right? Under the title, which is oftentimes on websites where that will be. So I scroll all the way down to the bottom and I see, again, there's not a website title list, or excuse me, an author listed here either. So I see that it's Discovery Education is the name of the company or the corporation that's publishing this, the name of that textbook company. So I'm going to go ahead. I see that it's Discovery Education, Inc. over here on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let me do a better job of copying it. And I'm going to place that in. And how I'm going to add it, because there isn't an author, I'm going to list that as the corporation or the organization that is publishing this information. And that will have to do, right? I don't have an author to find on here. It's a whole big, group of people, I bet, that are writing this. So I can't list it, and I'm going to just do the best I can. So for the title, I need this title here. This is the title of just this web page, this specific page in a bigger collection of pages, right, in this textbook. So I'm going to go ahead and put the title of this page right here. Then I'm looking for the website title itself. And so let me go ahead and make this bigger for us. The website title, like the name of the whole website, is this Discovery Education. I've already put that down as the corporation that is running this website. So I want to do a thing that's similar to what we did in the book source. It's a science tech book, and that's what they call it, right? Tech book. And that's the name of this whole big collection of pages. But we also have a course listed here. So if I click on that, this is kind of like the student edition that we were just working with in the paper copies, right? So you'll see this is a K through 12th grade tech book online. What you'll have reference or access to is the grades 6 through 8 Earth and Space Science, the grades 6 through 8 Life Science, and the grades 6 through 8 Physical Science. So the one we're working with is this Physical Science here. So you'll use the science tech book, and then whichever one of these you are getting your information and your sources from. We're going to go ahead and click back because I'm going to need this URL up here in a minute, and I want to make sure it's accurate. But I wanted to show you what that looks like and where to find that information. Oops. There we go. So the website title, then again, we're going to use the science tech book right up here, and we are going to use that course that was listed. So we've got science tech book. Make sure, even if it tells you it has the little red underline, that you're smarter than the computer. That is how you spell it. It's correct. I'm going to use that colon again right here, right? So I've got a colon, and then I will put grades 6-8 physical science. And now I need that URL. So I will come back up here. I'm going to copy that URL and paste it here. It should start with HTTPS. So that is the web address that I would need to use in order to get to that link, that website again. The publishing day is not listed here up at the top. Instead, if I slide all the way down, it might be down here, and all they're giving me is the year, 2021. So this is a website that is currently being, like, if there were any updates, they would have made them, right? So the whole of this website, all of the Discovery Education information is being continually updated if it's needed to be. So everything on here can be trusted to be accurate, at least to the best of the knowledge of Discovery Education, right? So I see that I dropped that in there, but if I'm careful, right, if I scroll down here, they're looking for a day, a month, and a year. And so the only piece of information I have is the year. And I want to make sure that that goes in the correct field, right? So if that's all you have, you just skip over these two. The next part is the access day, month, and year. And so today's date is October 10th. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 10 here. October is also the 10th month of the year, so I'll place that here. And then I have the accessed, or the year that I accessed it, 2021 also. Short title, you do not need to mess around with, so that means I'm done. I can click the Add Citation. And now I have my online, my digital textbook page that's also sorted, or cited. One of the last pieces is going to be here. I want to show you how to, okay, ready? So the next piece that we are going to create a citation for on our reference page is just a regular website page. So what does that look like? We're going to go ahead and click Add Citation Source again. We are going to select Website here, and it defaults to website as well. We are looking for an author of the information that is on this web page. And if we scroll down towards the top, right after that big photo, we can see her name here and her information. And I also see the date is listed there too, so that's handy. We'll come back to that. Her name, though, is Anne. I will go ahead and put in, she lists Marie. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be her first name and middle, first and middle, or if Anne Marie is her whole first name. I can try to click on here to figure it out. I will tell you, most people don't list their middle name in a source like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in with her first name, because I can use my brain, right, and think, okay, some people go by Anne Marie together. So I'm going to keep that in the whole first name part. And then I will correctly type in her last name. So I'm going to scroll down here and need the title of the website, the title of this specific web page, right? So first I find the title of the page I'm looking at, and then the title of the whole website. So the title of this page is the relationship between electricity and magnetism. So I'll type that first. Make sure I've got capital letters done correctly. The relationship between, so between is capitalized. All right, I've got it. The website title then is right here, Thought Co. And if I scroll way down to the bottom, I can see that Thought Co is the name, like a name of a big company running this this whole big website. I see that Thought Co is part of the / publishing family, and it's not asking me over here for a publishing family. So we're just going to put down that Thought Co, and it is all together with a period at the end, right? That Thought Co is the name of that whole website, right? So now I can go through and take the URL, which is up here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. Again, it's going to be start with an HTTPS, right? I've got the publishing day. Now remember, that was up at the top here. I have November 9th of 2018, and I like that I'm seeing that they went back and updated it. So that helps me know that this is probably, like, that's a good sign. This is a credible source of information because it was updated. Evidently, there was something that needed to be either corrected or just maybe there was new information, right? So I'm putting in the publishing day, which is November 9th. November is the 11th month, so I can go ahead and just put in 11. And then the publishing year is 2018. The day that I accessed it stays the same as it was before, right? It's October 10th, at least today when I'm making this video for you. I put in the year, the month, and the date right here. There's no short title, right? And so I'm done citing this website. What you want to pay attention to really is I'm just trying to find the information or provide my readers with enough information so that they could find it if they wanted to. So these key pieces, right? The year that it was published, the title of this article that's printed online, the name of the company, right? That's putting this together. I have the link. So I've given them enough information that they should be able to find it, even if that link gets broken down the road. So I'll go ahead and click that add citation. So now I'm building over here the list of all of my sources. So I want to, before we do this last source, I want to explain to you that if you do this in pieces, right, I can go ahead and close this window and I could close down my whole computer. And when I go back the next day and open this up, I will be able to go to the tools and citations and everything is still listed there. So Google does a great thing in saving those lists of sources for you right in here. So I could do it all in one sitting like we're doing in this video, or I can come back and I can go ahead and add these pieces if I add more sources to my research, right? I can also go back and if I am finding more information, like suddenly I found the date that I couldn't find earlier, it was like, buried somewhere in the website. I don't know. I can go back and edit this, but just so that you know those features are there too. So now we're going to add another citation source. We're going to go ahead and list it as a website because it is a video that we're going to work on next. I just want to go through this with you too. What I want to show you is this is through YouTube, which is where most of I've noticed students will get their videos mostly from like YouTube or from a bigger website. And so we're going to click website instead of film. And so we'll go through. There's not an author listed. So they're looking for an author here. If there was someone, like an individual person, and this was their YouTube channel that you were citing, then you could go ahead and list that here. Right now, we just have a corporation or an organization, which is the organization Crash Course. Oops. And again, I want to make sure I'm not putting a space in between here because they don't have a space, right? Their whole name is all like crashed, all slammed together. So Crash Course is the name of the organization. And a way to double check that too, they list PBS Digital Studios here. And so I can double check my information by clicking that show more. And you'll see that they often, YouTube sites, especially ones that are trying to be credible and ensure that they are credible to their audience, they'll list a lot of information here about who the director is, who they might have worked with. You see resources listed here. This is great, like that they're providing their sources of information, just like you are, right? This helps lead to credibility and for me to know this is a reliable website. So they thank a bunch of people that are contributing here. They give you a little bit of other information. But what I'm seeing that's interesting is the Crash Course Engineering is produced in association. So they're working with PBS Digital Studios here. So I'm going to go ahead and list another corporation or organization. I've got PBS Digital. Oops. PBS Digital Studios I've typed in here. So there are two companies or organizations that are contributing together to make this film. And so I want to give credit to both of them. The next piece I need to find is the title. And so I've got that here. I want to go ahead and I can select the whole of that title and get it right in here. I've got the website title itself. So this is where I'm going to let my readers know that I actually found this on YouTube. So that is the company that is putting out this video and where I actually accessed it. I'm going to go ahead and grab that URL up here in the top. I'm going to copy and paste that right here. The next piece I'm looking for is a publishing day or month or year. So any of that information that I can find. So I'll scroll down here and I've got a publishing day and a month and a year listed over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that information. I've got the 17th of January, the first month of the year, and the publishing year is 2019. Again, the day that I am accessing this. So if I'm pretending that I would have opened this up on the next day, right? Remember, I just went over how I could close out this citation sources here and then open it up the next day. So you can, like, if it's the 11th of October and I'm filling this out, I should put that day down, even if it is not the same date as all my other ones, right? The accessing day is truly the day that you know you last checked this website and this link and everything was accurate, right? And I was able to open that link, everything was working, right? So this is especially important also if you're doing research that's on current events, because if I put down that I accessed something on October 10th, and then the next day there was more information, something else was discovered and, a change in the news, I want to make sure that whatever I've cited in my research and in my writing, that my readers know, well, that was the last time I had accurate information from that source, right? So I want to go ahead and make sure this is accurate here. So it is the 10th of October, so that's what I'm putting down. I don't have a short title. I've grabbed all the information I can from this video and from this link and to be able to cite. So I'll just go ahead and click Add Citation. Notice as I fill these out, it is actually putting them in alphabetical order for me too. So the beginning is the letter C and then D and then H, right? So it is putting these in alphabetical order. That's really important because when I go ahead and insert this whole list of references into my doc over here, I want to make sure that it is in alphabetical order. And Google does a great job of their coding and making sure that they're listed over here in alphabetical order. So even if I added something that started with the letter F, right, like the person's last name, or it would put it in between these two sources for me. So that's pretty slick that they do that for you. Yay, technology. I also want to make sure that I'm using what's called a hanging indent and that they're double spaced. So let me show you what that looks like here. When I'm ready and I have this whole list of sources here, I want to insert my references down here. So I make sure that I have my cursors in the right spot. If my cursor is over here randomly, wherever my cursor is, and I click Insert References, that's where the computer is going to put it. And so I want to make sure I have my cursor in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and click Insert References. It gives me this title of references. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I don't need it twice, right? And now you'll see that these references are all listed in what's called a hanging indent. This is the opposite of a paragraph. And I do that because when I use a piece of information, when I quote and put quotation marks around something I'm taking from this video or from this digital textbook, I want to make sure that in parentheses, at the end of whatever I've quoted, I'm using this information. So Discovery Education Inc. or Crash Course or this woman's last name or this woman's last name, right? And then also the year that it was published. So those are the two key pieces, and I want those sticking out here so that I can see them right away. So if I'm looking for a source, I want it to be really quick on that reference list. So they do it the opposite of a paragraph so that that first word sticks out and you can find the source really quickly. So now that I've inserted all of my sources, I can go ahead and close that out. They will live in that background app forever until you delete this. So now my references are set and I am ready to start using them in my writing. Thanks for paying attention.